Hi, ich bin Stella und bin in diesem Podcast der Frage nachgegangen, wie Aktivismus während Covid-19 aussehen kann und aussieht. Hierfür haben wir verschiedene Aktivistinnen, die sich in Antirassstrukturen organisieren und geflüchtete Menschen supporten, zu einer Videokonferenz eingeladen. Es wurden klare gesellschaftliche und politische Forderungen gestellt, sowie Befürchtungen der zunehmenden rechten und faschistischen Organisierung in Griechenland und Europa kontextualisiert. Danke an alle, die mitgemacht haben und uns eure Perspektiven und Expertisen nahegelegt haben. Die Aufnahme wurde eigentlich am 25.04. diesen Jahres aufgenommen und es sollte ein Videobeitrag werden. Doch wir hatten ein paar unvorhergesehene technische Schwierigkeiten, daher war die Umsetzung dann nicht möglich. Wir haben uns dann dazu entschieden, einen Podcast zu machen und mussten auch etwas nachbessern. Die Videokonferenz wurde auf Englisch gehalten. Am Anfang stellen sich die einzelnen AktivistInnen nach einer kurzen Einleitung vor.
Okay, so I start with a quick introduction. In the past months and weeks, the inhabitants of the camps and activists, human rights organizations, anti-racist and anti-fascist groups have been more and more demanding to evacuate Moria and other camps on the island. The hashtag Leave No One Behind is spread widely, and the German government is taking 47 minors from the islands. Today we want to discuss with different activists. So we have here Gabi and Kurt from No Nation Truck, who have been recently on Lesbos. We have Amir from Legal Central Lesbos, and Kashef for Alarmphone, and Flo for Mare Liberum. And maybe Amir, you can start introducing yourself, what you've been doing, and what is your activist job?
I'm almost here about 4 years in the island and doing different kind of volunteering stuff like activist. And now at the moment I'm working at Legal Center, basically interpreting or translation. The horrible situation is a start before coronavirus, actually from 2020, when the new government take over and everything changed, the asylum law and so many things become illegal. The things they are doing is not even in human rights, it's illegal. I don't know about appeal procedure or even getting a lawyer. They're tricking people with different ways.
What are you doing at Legal Central at Lesbos? What are you doing there? What is your group doing? And how can you be active during COVID-19 lockdown?
Okay, from before 2020, we were doing basically preparing the refugees for their interview or help them in asylum procedure, Dublin, if someone wants to do family reunification with other European countries, or helping them to prepare their interview. Mainly preparing for the interview because they have no clue about what is interview and what kind of question they're going to be asked. So basically we talk to the people in the meetings, really private and confidential, and hear their stories, the reason they flee their countries, and try to help them to make a contraction to explain it better in their interview to the caseworker who is getting interview from them. The most useful thing we're doing is this, and also doing some appeal examinations, because there is a lot of people in Moria and there is no enough lawyers in the island, and the lawyers are so busy. One lawyer do take cases for 50 people, and it's not enough.
So my name is Gabi. I'm part of the No Nation Truck. and I've been involved into supporting migrant struggles since almost 1.5 years. I've been in Bosnia, Serbia, and Greece mainly, and lately I was involved in Moria to build the Corona station.
Yeah, more or less the same for me. I'm good, also from No Nation Truck, and I was recently in Lesbos again. I've been there now 4 times, I guess. Most of the time working with NBK, No Border Kitchen, and yeah, I was also taking part of in the isolation Corona station, which used to be a school before, or which should have been a school. Now they're building it in a different place. Yeah.
Kashif, do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Kashif. I'm with Alarm Phone. Alarm Phone is a hotline number that support and assist migrant in distress at sea. And we cover the Mediterranean from the Aegean to the Atlantic, like from the Far East to West. And me myself is activist in the migration movement since 2012, since I was in Egypt actually. Was in Moria last summer for the first time. I'm a lawyer working with refugees stuck in Moria and such camps around the Mediterranean with the legal procedures and the bureaucratic process, helping them to get out.
Flo, you want to continue?
So I'm Flo. I'm from Mare. Actually, I'm on board of the Mare, which is the ship that is run by the same name Berlin-based organization, and we have been with our ship for the last 2 years monitoring the human rights situation in the Aegean, mainly around Lesbos, and that's maybe about the organization in general. So the idea is that we are out there actually with our ship in the border area and showing presence of like a civil eye on the things that are going on in between coast guards and migrants' boats. With the idea to, by being present, already interfering or changing a little bit the situation, and also being able to report directly from there and gather evidence. That's a bit the idea. And at the moment we are not outside because we're not allowed to move for Corona regulations, but we're still active on the island.
Thanks. Now we got a quick overview who is who. Amir, do you want to talk about your expertise from the island of Lesbos?
Yes, I would love to talk about the people who are in quarantine. I was talking actually a few days ago with a lady, which is her husband arrived about 4 weeks ago, and her husband is still in quarantine, and nobody knows what's going to be happen to the people who arrive in March.
How does this quarantine look like?
They are also isolated people, and don't let them they are not registering them. They are not letting them to even make contact outside with the organizations, NGOs, or lawyers, which the people trying to help. And it's really difficult to get in contact with them. It's different. They don't know. Some people try to help them, and from the other sides, the government put pressure on them and make them to not talk to anybody and not trust to anybody.
And the
biggest problem, which is they are not registered, and even if the lawyer wants to do something and help, is like 50-50 because they don't have a name here and they are not registered. So if like, for example, you get like a power of attorney for the lawyer, and basically it's like, it's not obvious, like, can someone like help them or not? They basically, what we can do, just follow up and get just information and write it down.
Can you tell a bit more about Moria for the people, how they can like perceive the situation there and put it together like what you just said now?
In Moria, I was like a while ago in Moria, like a few days. The situation is like everything is postponed. Like nobody knows anything what's gonna be happened, and is I cannot say it like. I don't know, like they postponed their interviews, the people like didn't renew their outweises, and everything is just confusion. And I don't know like how they want to control it, like even like after like the corona, like what they want to do with these people. I mean, like the best thing they can do, just transfer them like to mainland and not to keep them like here, like isolated. And it's like a bomb, you know, if like something happened, they cannot control it. The people are living like really in close, like crowded, like it's not safe. I was there like 2 days, 3 days ago. I went there really easily. Like to go in there is so easy. But they're giving this kind of like sort of paper to the people to go for shopping, or really a few people are allowed to go outside the Moria village because they are like just moving around, like people without any people doing actually volunteering, like hygienic stuff. Like they are like putting like stations and like they're washing their hands, and the people are doing this, not authorities or government or NGOs or whatever.
Gabi, you were just recently on Lesbos and in Moria. What is your perception of the situation? What do you want to add?
So I was involved into supporting migrant struggles, and this was 1 year ago, and for me it was really impressive to see Moria again, because people used to live in tents 1 year ago, and now most people used to build already like little kind of houses, of course like really low quality houses out of pallets and out of tarps, no roofs and everything. But they really, this I think for me is really impressive, because this shows that people are in the mindset of, okay, we will stay here for a longer time, and that this is a really a difference just in how they live there. So for example, there's also something like a market where you can buy fruits and stuff like this, and there's also a shisha bar and tattoo shop. And of course, when people have to wait for one interview for 2 years, they have to arrange and they have to find a way how to live in Moria. So what is still in a really unhuman condition is the water or the water technique. So there is no fluent water during the day, like just for 3 or 4 hours in the morning. And of course, in times of Corona, this is like this is not possible, because people aren't able to have their daily hygiene routine, and especially in times like now, they will not be able to wash their hands regularly. What is important now as well is to say that they stopped the asylum right. So
You just said Greece suspended the asylum seekers' right. That was in beginning of March, when Turkey opened the borders to Greece. That was just before the European pandemic outbreak, but is as important to mention. What are the regulations due to COVID-19 in Greece and on Lesbos? Can you tell something about that, Gabi?
the government suspended asylum right in March, because of Corona. And since some weeks there is a lockdown. So when you live, for example, in the biggest city, Mytilene, you have to write an SMS or fill out a form when you want to leave the house. And police is continuously checking you and can give you fine when you go without. And of course, people in Moria, there's the rule that not more than 100 people can go out of Moria on one day. But of course, in the camp, people move freely and they aren't in the tents or anything all the time.
Thanks. Later on, we will talk a bit more on how the regulations due to COVID-19 affect activism in general. But before that, we wanted to give you inside perspective of a person who's living in Moria, and we wanted to give them a voice. So when Gabi was still on Lesbos Island, she asked Yavash to record a memo for us, which is the one what we're gonna play now.
Hello, I'm Yavash. I am from Afghanistan, and I'm living in Moria camp, Lesbos, Greek. I want to speak about the situation in this camp, or also about this virus, Corona-19. Now in this camp, maybe 22,000 people living in this camp. But about the Corona, I want to tell something, or I want to give information. Now in this camp, these people have a lot of problem, but the situation in living this camp is very shit or very bad. They are living a bad situation here. Also now Corona, they don't have money. Also the government of Greek or the UNICEF doesn't send money for their, and they can't go to the city buy something, or they can't go to the hospital. They don't have hospital. They don't have anything. Also, they are living in this camp and they're using the same time. Maybe one day for one toilet, 100 using the same time, and they are must to go the food line. These people, and this is really a bad situation. Or the people all want to need also to Europe must to do a kind act for these people, because they really need it. Maybe the all Europe forget some people living in this place. Or also this is maybe just a small or big than small people, just at this place in Moria. A lot of people living in Chios, Samos, Chios, another island, and the people of here just need to Europe do a kind act for these people. Maybe the Europe forget the people living here, and the situation really bad for this place. And also now about the Corona, maybe maybe the Europe or Greek government can to send there for a safe place like a hotel or a home or some place to save, because this is camp the old people living in the tent. Maybe for one tent 14%, 8%, 10% living there together. If the Corona to come for this camp, maybe this is 22,000 people the all is dead, because for this island they don't have hospital like that to send the old people there to save. And now the refugee or some organization together, they make a hospital, just 20 room inside the camp. But it is maybe not giving answer for 22,000 people. If for one home, one person have Corona for this camp, maybe some family have 11 member people in the tent, or they're living together. If one person have corona, the 11 person have corona. Also, if the one person have corona in this camp, 22,000 people all have corona, because they are using every day the same toilet, the same. They're going same in the line, in the food line, in the toilet line, and using everything the same. The people needed to Europe do a kind act for these people.
Yes, so this was the memo from Yavash, who clearly demands Europe or the European Union to take responsibility for camps like Moria. Yeah, well, let's get back to the topic on activism. So, Flo, you said earlier that you're with Mare Liberum right now on Lesbos, but you're not allowed to sail out. So how do the COVID-19 regulations affect your work over there? How does it look like right now?
So, I mean, the basic change for us is that we are not on sea. I mean, we are on sea, but not in the border area. So the Corona regulation says that there's no pleasure craft in the Aegean Sea, which you can question the fact that for Corona it's better to not move around with a ship. Well, I'm not an expert, but I would question the fact a little bit. And that means that I would also say it's used as an option to keep all civil eyes away. So we are forced to stay close to shore, and that way decided, since we still have a crew on the ship and we want to continue monitoring, we decided to monitor from here, which means that we basically monitor it in two directions. So one is the shoreline and the things that are going on sea as far as we can get hold of information, which is really difficult these days. And the other thing is that we also started to monitor more in the hotspot. So we mainly went there, we spoke to people, we gathered testimonies, and we used it for media work, and also to be able to support the cases of people, especially the ones that Amir also mentioned, that are forced to still stay in their quarantine places on the shoreline or in temporary housing or temporary storage places, even though the quarantine is long over. So yeah, we've been following up a little bit on them, and politically and also legally, and also trying to report and put more public attention on the fact that these people are stuck in between the political context.
You just named the hotspot. Can you explain what the hotspot is?
Yeah, I mean, the hotspot that I was mentioning is Moria, which became sadly very famous as name. Generally, a hotspot is part of the EU-Turkey deal, which includes that Greece agreed to gather people that are arriving in hotspots, which means to gather them in one place, as many as possible, with mostly, I mean, in Moria is the worst example, but also in other islands like in Chios, it's similar, no? So it's a lot of people in one spot with really, really few supplies and bad infrastructure. And they are held there for the whole time of the asylum process. This is kind of part of the deal. So at the moment, I would say that, I mean, Moria is for sure like really not a good place. And then we have these people that are forced to stay in temporary places without even being transferred to Moria, which, I mean, it's obviously clear they have to be able to apply for asylum at some point, and they have to be in a not that temporary place, but still Moria will be a temporary place. So it can also only lead to the conclusion that both versions are not like confirming human rights and has to be changed in a way.
So you're talking about the temporary places by the shoreline, which means that is the place where people now arrive when they arrive to the Greek islands?
So since mid of March, there was 4 arrivals in the North Shore and 1 here in the South. In the North Shore, these people are in 3 different places. One group is in a beach, and the other one is like outside of a village somewhere in the nowhere, and the third one is in a part of the port area, and they're basically all detained there, so they're protected by police or Coast Guard, and they cannot, they're not allowed to leave, and also not everyone is allowed to access. So they have basic needs covered, kind of. They have tents. The UNHCR provides food and some clothes and so on, but for example, they don't provide really the medicine that people need, and also it's not possible to access them just for everyone, or for volunteers that want to help. That is for the people in the north, but also for the ones in the south that are still in a temporary place. So it's made also very, very difficult for activists to come and support. For example, just to mention, from our group, people try to distribute masks, which I mean, obviously is helpful against corona infection, and they were stopped by police and they were fined for violating the corona law, which is kind of absurd. But it shows how also they try to criminalize activist works.
Gabi and Kurt, maybe do you want to add something on that, on activist work, and how did it look like in the past month when you were there? Or maybe Amir also?
So I would like to add that in these days you need a permission to be active or to actually to work.
Get out of the house.
And also to get out of the house. So you have like two possibilities. You can write an SMF to Greek government, which says I go for shopping or I have to go to the pharmacy. So you need an important reason why you go out. And there's another possibility that you can go out because you have to work. So I think it's really hard to show solidarity in these days when you don't volunteer or you aren't active with an NGO which can give you this working permission, because then you don't have the right to go out and police can catch you and give you a fine. So this is a structural thing which really affects the work on the island.
I cannot hear you right now
and
so
also
well.
It's not possible anymore. Like there was NBK, No Border Kitchen, was doing food distribution like for 150, 200 people most of the time, or like every day, but it depends how many people came. And for sure, because of the corona regulations, it's not possible anymore to do it like this. They found other ways to give food to the people. They are doing something like a delivery at the moment, trying to find families and going to the people directly, or at least to the people they know where they are living in. So this is the night spotting team, which is not able to work at the moment. Shame, and it's very disappointing because also before there were all the fascist attacks, so they couldn't do the night shifts before as well, and now they still cannot continue. I think it's one of the important at the moment.
Amir, do you want to continue and join in?
Yeah, they make it a little bit difficult for the people to help. I was a day before in Moria and tried to get some signature for like the people who had like deadline for family reunification. I went there. I wanted the paper to have a permission to work, and I went there, and they didn't let me to leave Moria, and I had to walk back all the way for like getting like a few signatures. They don't let the people even go for emergency cases like to the Mytilene. Really, a few people are allowed to come to the city, and it's really, I think it's something really bad coming to happen here. I'm seeing a bit movement and activists of a few fascist groups, which is they were not in the island. Now they are like sort of bikers and like biking gangs, and I'm seeing them to moving around a lot, and I think they're up to do something after the this movement restriction problem, and I believe it's gonna get a bit worse with the problem with the fascists here in the island.
Why do you think so? The problem is going to get worse. There has been so many fascist attacks already. People now recently just got shot at. Houses are set on fire.
That's the locals actually. They were doing like homemade. We say it like homemade attacks. They are not organized really to be organized. They are just locals doing some fascist attacks, and but now the things I'm seeing is getting a bit organized, and the groups are coming from the mainlands, which is I saw actually today with my own eyes, and some bikers, they were like moving around with this gang they have.
No, just I agree with Amir that I also think that things will get rather worse because what started in the beginning of the year, what grew worse in the beginning of March, I think it's a coming together of many different factors. And one part of it is the locally organized fascists that managed to somehow get a lot of people on the street at some point. That I wouldn't call them fascists, but it's locals and they're angry, and the organized ones made them, they got them on the right spot and they kind of used them also. This is one part, but then there's also the part of the Greek government that is enforcing a politics also of neoliberalism and really like doing whatever the EU likes them to do. And this like the idea of the closed camps that they were going to build on the islands that they were trying to enforce with police brutality, coming together with a strong tendency of preventing NGOs from working, which obviously is part of the game. No, they don't want anyone to watch in what they're doing. So. And all this together, I see that it's a mixture of political situations, like in Europe, in Greece, in the local place, that is a mixture that I don't see it getting really better, to be honest. I mean, we always try to be optimistic because if not, we would ask ourselves, what the hell are we doing here? But I don't see a bright future, to be honest. So for me, as I said, they don't want us to watch, so that's why they don't want us here, and they make it as difficult as possible. So this is basically what we can continue doing, even in times of moving around only with permissions and a lot of police checks and new registration laws for NGOs and whatever, to be still here and to shout out what's going on, and for the others that are not here to share it and to know it and to put more pressure.
Thank you for your inside view of the uprising organization of fascist locals and fascist organizational movement from the mainland. As Flo said earlier, that their boat of Mare Liberum is not allowed to sail out right now. So to you, Kashev, how does these restrictions of vessels on the sea influence your work of alarm phone nowadays?
First of the situation nowadays affected the work actually, because as we see how all the state security measures close the borders, just because of the reason that this epidemic and the fear the death rate is not that high. But yes, and then this is affect the world because nowadays there's no NGO ships, rescue ships operate in the Mediterranean recently after the last week. It's affecting also to see how the states themselves deal with the people in distress. Like Italy just stated that officially there will be no rescue from their side. They will not accept any migrant on their land. There's no safe harbor because of the situation in Italy. And then when we look at Malta, actually Malta is doing awful against the migrant themselves. Like they are doing, let's say this is kind of killing to the people, to leave people at sea without rescue, and even there is ships around and no rescue, no assistance, and that makes the world, I would say, not just for Alarm Phone, but for any other NGO involved in the situation in Mediterranean. Like we see the situation with Mary Liberum in Lesbos, we see the situation with Aitamari, stayed at sea for a long time until they took the migrant off it. We see the Alain Cordy, which belongs to CI, and then it's really horrible situation. And let's say that the states and the government are taking advantage of the current situation, just stop the migration flow, and to find not to find a solution, but to find a nice answer, like a nice diplomatic, political answer. The situation in Moria as a hotspot, it's not just the only one, as mentioned. It's just a sample for what's going on all around. At sea, even in the camps, like even in the camps in Europe itself, even if it's not a hotspot, but we see how it's really awful. And for Alarm Phone, let's say we used to do the shift like virtual, like we have a hotline, we do virtual work actually even before the situation. So we coping with the situation. Everything is online. The call is still working. The thing that we cannot do a physical shift together anymore. So like the shift team normally do like from 2 up to whatever number of people doing shifts together. We cannot do it nowadays in a physical form. And yeah, and this is effect somehow to find a quiet place to do it. And as you see, we're stuck at home.
Yeah, I totally agree on that this COVID-19 and the lockdown is used to have like a 2-class or even 3rd-class society, like who they're getting, like taking the advantage of not letting people in and maybe letting them die at sea, and having people in lagers, also in Germany, in Moria, where people are just stuck and no one cares about how many are getting infected, but everyone else who has a home, who is white, has a passport of Germany, can just stay at home and wash their hands. So you see like what difference is made and how this is used to enforce more racist strategies. So I totally agree on that. And Flo, you wanted to add something before?
Yeah, just because we were speaking about the situation on sea, since it's our main topic, basically, I thought I would just add some words to it. So for the question of the change of the situation on sea here in the Aegean, I would say there was a big change in the last month. COVID-19 is part of it, but not only. So I mean, the last years there has been arrivals and there has been people being rescued by the Greek Coast Guard. There has also been reports about pushbacks, but there has been rarely or barely any situation of non-rescue here in the Aegean. And so I'm not saying it was good, no. I mean, there have been really human rights violations on sea for sure, and people had really cases of distress with late rescues and so on. But what we saw in the beginning of March, in these times that also the protests were so strong here on the island against the closed camps, and then Turkey announced to open their borders, and the next day there was a lot of boats arriving. So in this, especially in this one day, we saw that 1st of March, we saw that there has been no rescue on sea, which means that neither the Turkish Coast Guard, because the borders were open, nor the Greek Coast Guards were rescuing. And then with the addition of the fascists being very strong on the island and even preventing people that landed by themselves couldn't enter a port because there was strong protest. This, for me, was really the start of, wow, shit, things really are going to change for the worse. And so in this time, when Turkey opened their borders for a really short time, basically, but this was, Greece used it as an option to close the asylum service for 1 month. That was the start, which also means that people that arrive don't have the possibility to apply for asylum, which completely changes the situation of arrival for sure. This stayed for the month, and then it was stopped. So people, like, looking backwards, have the option to apply for asylum. What stayed is that there's no, as I said, civil boats allowed in the sea. Now, first for a regulation if that's the wording, a regulation on sea to control the illegal immigration flows. For this reason, there was no pleasure craft allowed, and now they're not allowed for Corona. And this in a situation where there's more and more, for us, we have the impression that even though no one is out there, there's more and more reports about pushbacks, about violent pushbacks. So there has been this topic of the life rafts. Maybe some people heard of it. So people were pushed back in life raft. That is this blow up islands that ships have. And so the Coast Guard would rescue a boat, people from a boat, put them on a life raft and let them floating towards Turkey. And the same thing, there's testimonies about boats being taken away, their engines, and then let adrift in the sea. So these things reach us even though there's only military around, by testimonies from people. We published also a small video about one of these testimony where it's a case of people taking away their engines. So I would say they really use the moment to even be more violent there on the sea.
Do you have like numbers on that? Like how many boats are actually still arriving, or how much it decreased in comparison?
I could only say for the island, for total Aegean or something, I don't have. I would have to look them up also. I can say for the island. So for Lesbos, since the beginning of March, there was about close to 400 people arriving, which part of them were the ones from beginning of March were transferred to the mainland directly after having been forced to live in the warship for 2 weeks and put there in a closed camp. And then after that, it was about around 150 people. That is 5 boats since mid of March.
Do you have like numbers, Kashef, from that perspective also?
To be honest, what have been uncovered, like what have been noticed was 6 boats during the Easter, and then 2 boats after the Easter weekend last week. But war in Libya. If we are talking about like Central Mediterranean, there is a war in Libya, and COVID-19 for people there is nothing. Like really, people have nothing to lose, so they are just crossing the Mediterranean, even when Europe is not safe anymore, even if the EU and the European states wanted to destroy the image of the nice human rights defenders and all this mottos, but people are still crossing in, I would say, in a daily basis. Some of them reaching alarm phones, some of them not. And also, in fact, people are aware that there is no NGO rescue ships at the moment in the Mediterranean, but they are still trying. Some boats already reached Italy, like reached the Italian shores directly without any assistance, and then find people on the shore, which called ghost posts. So it's difficult to have a specific number. So yeah, to add just briefly something that we are keep talking about, like the situation in Lesbos and Moria and the hotspots. It's very bad, and there's a lot of focus on it. For me, this situation for migrants and refugees, it's all one piece. It's all a follower of international politics. It's a follower of European policies, or maybe it's a success for them because they are implementing this what's called border externalization for more than 5-6 years now, and they are trying just to extend the borders outside Europe. So it started in the Mediterranean, reached Turkey through the EU-Turkish deal in 2016, and North African countries which are in negotiations and different deals and treatments since ages. The thing is, when people talk about relocation, all the states claim that they don't have enough capacity and they don't have enough places. And to take just one example of what the social movement did for the last couple of years, in Germany, there is more than 150 places that agreed, like municipalities agreed to have people. They said that we have place here for these people. And what the states did, just agreed to bring and combine the minors and children and rescue because of the COVID-19. And actually, I cannot imagine how to separate families in the name of vulnerability, like who deserve more than other. What about family with a father, a mother, and 3 children? We will talk just this, 2 minors and the mother, and you will leave the father with the adult because they are not vulnerable anymore. So it's a political crisis, and it's still going on, to be honest. Because Moria, for example, the capacity of the building itself, of the center itself, of the camp is 3,000. But because of the failure of the procedures, it reached to be more than 20,000 with no places but the jungle, but the olive farms around, with tents, with a lack of water, with no hygiene at all. And it's really crazy. And it's Moria, it's Greece, and Greece is a EU member state. And I will bring it back to the comparison of what's going on in Libya and Tunis. And Tunis itself close to of refugee camps because they cannot handle it anymore. And people became just in the streets, and others just signed with IOM for voluntary return. And really, if we, in this time of Corona, in this time of COVID-19, if the politician wanted to find the solution, they will find it. They send flights to bring more than 70,000 citizens abroad, outside Europe, in the beginning of the crisis, of COVID crisis, to bring them home. If they want to do the same with this migrant, they will do it. But it's more than even racism. I don't know. It's mixed between capitalism that to keep the market divided and racism that no one like us and these people don't deserve any efforts to bring them to a safe place.
Amir, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, actually, the things they are doing at the moment with the volunteering, also deportation, and I heard the rumors they are trying to give amount of money to the people, like a lot of money, to do volunteering deportation, and that means like they want to like say the refugees who come here, they are economic migrants, or like they come for jobs and this kind of things. And I think they're gonna do it, and it's really horrible. They offered like a lot of amount of money to someone, like something about 3,000 euros, and the people go back and they said that refugees are here for economic situation, and they are not running for like their life, or like there's no war going on.
Yeah, just to also say, I totally agree with what Kashev started. So yeah, we speak a lot about Lesbos because this is the place where I am, where most of the speakers are or have been. But for me, this is very, very obviously a place that, in the situation that we see here, shows the border politics of Europe and the deliberate externalization of the border towards the most outer part of Greece, towards the most outer part of Europe. So to a point that even sometimes people say like, wow, this is Europe. But yes, this is Europe, and this is what Europe does deliberately. And instead of like taking their responsibility as a state conglomerate to take responsibility and act according to their supposedly ideas of humanism and freedom. So for me, it's really clear that this is one example of the EU border politics, and for sure there's the Greek government, there's the local authorities that have responsibility to the situation, but to actually really change something about it would be on the EU level and would be a political decision on the EU level.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, that this is EU politics and definitely happening at many more borders, having situations like this. Because when people arrive to Lesbos, usually they also travel further and end up on the Balkan route, where the situation has also been very affected by the COVID-19 lockdown, but also beforehand. The situation on the borders has been horrible there. I mean, there was shot at people, I think, in the end of last year, and stuff like that is happening in the name of the European Union. Exactly. Amir, I would ask you, like, what would you expect activists to do, for example, here in Germany, who are sitting here in their house and staying home, washing their hands? What do you want them to do? What is the next step to change something?
Unfortunately, the things are happening already, and there is nothing could be done about this, and it's just a fact, and everybody accepts it, and nobody wants refugees, and this is the reality, unfortunately. And I'm not really looking forward to things to change. Actually, I'm expected to get worse and worse and worse, and I don't know. The things need to be changed from the people who are living, like the locals. And the things I really think about it could affect on the refugees' life here. It's not actually NGOs. It's the people who are living in the country. Like it could be also Germany or wherever. Like the people, or the refugees living there, needs to have like a secure life first of all, and safety, and then like talking about like asylum service, or like registering them, or like registration, or like whatever. I don't think so. It's nothing like in my mind to say like this is need to be done and everything would be a paradise. There's not such a thing like this. And people are closed their eyes, and they wanted to close their eyes because they are freaked out, especially with this coronavirus situation. They are really like close their eyes, and they just don't want it. They don't want to get I don't know, a virus from people, or they just yeah. I don't know what's could be affects a lot and change, and yeah.
Maybe I give this question to the group if anyone wants to add something, or we can have it wider open. Like, what is your biggest demand right now?
Well, for me, it's a bit two levels. Like a concrete demand that I see it the real option that it could be done with the political will, of course, is really to evacuate these camps, and this is something that can be demanded from everywhere, kind of. No? So you also mentioned in the beginning the Leave No One Behind campaign, that I think is a good idea to make a bridge between people that are on places like here, for example, or active around the Mediterranean and in the borders, and people that are at home in their houses. And I think it's a bit the time of also activism on a digital level, if we like it or not. But I still believe that to put as much public pressure as we can by reporting and distributing information, and always demanding that this is to change, and always repeating the request of evacuating the camps, is something that we can all do. And I still believe it can change. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but as I said before, I think if we are kind of optimistic, if we would not continue doing what we do in a way. That's at least my perspective. And speaking about Germany, because Amir mentioned it, for me this is also a really valid point that at the moment there's a lot of attention on places like Moria, but if we see the conditions in camps in Germany, for example, it's really also something to be changed and to be demanded for change. So it's a bit also asking people to also look in the very close surrounding from their comfort lives, and try. I mean, you cannot enter, so I cannot say go there, but at least try to know the situation and to demand it and to denounce it, because it's all also related, no, in between, inside this politics, that also in German camps it's a bad situation, and people are not giving housing, even though there would be enough. I mean, we have so many empty hotels at the moment. There's housing that could be used. It's just not done for the lack of political will.
Yeah, my personal demand that now we all, if we are talking about Germany or any other highly developed country, we all experience the uncertainty now. We all know or feel how it is that you don't know what tomorrow will bring to you, how it will look like. And this is the normal situation for people in camps and in lagers or in hotspots. My demand that to start, a lot of people thinking about it already, but I hope to find a way to implement such a way to speak to the people, to the voters, because nothing will change without a political tension, unfortunately. So voters, how the movement, the political movement, the social movement use the recent situation to highlight it, to say that the uncertainty is a daily situation for these people. They are not trying to reach here to snatch your cake, to take your piece of cake, to take your place, to take whatever position that you are in from you. They are just trying to find a normal life. And I hope that normal people or unpoliticized people feel it now, how it is. And we have no other way but online and doing simple demonstration like the one that was 2 weeks ago in front of the Chancellor Anton. And if we don't like it, go and print papers and put it in front of the houses. All the people now are staying home and they will find this piece of paper in front of their doors and like a postman. Classic.
I don't know, like monitoring everything, writing all this information and like letting people know, as Kashyap said. And like my biggest issue is like I know, like people know, like but they just don't want to know, and or they don't care. Like that's the worst thing. Like in the worst case, like they don't care. And I'm hoping like this could like affect and something would be changed. Like, but yeah, we will see. Also, the problem is it's if you want to build a community or like everybody like protect each other, like to gather some people and just for like protecting themselves, it's even like not possible. Like the political like parties, they don't let to the people to organize something for themselves, and each time like somebody wants to take over that thing and like to guide the people how they think and what they do, which is like the worst and horrible things I have been experiencing in my life, like in these few years, and to tell the people like what is right and what is wrong. And I just hope in one day like people can make decision for themselves and build a community. Like I don't want to mention the names, and like to they can figure like their problems like inside each other and don't wait for the orders of some political parties to do what, and just for some people's benefits or like some benefits of these political parties. And I hope we arrive in that point at some point, wherever. It doesn't matter here or like.
I agree that there's many people that also don't want to know, but I still find it important to mention that, I mean, there is here on the island, on other places in the border region, there's a lot of people that are trying to support, or they're activists and they're trying to change something. And also here, I mean, there's many international, but there's also a lot of local people that are still in solidarity with refugees, and they're trying, even under these hard conditions that also locals are under repression, under state repression. They are here, and it's important to say that they're here. And also, I think that even in countries like Germany, you have this quite strong Seebrücke movement, shows that in the civil society, there's people that do care, and the movement has grown stronger, which so far didn't actually change something about the politics, because it's the politicians that don't care. They act according to power and to whatever reasons, mostly power reasons. But I still think that within the civil society, things can actually change, and also the media attention and the fact that there's a lot of information can actually change something.
Oh yeah, I had this one question. What is do you see like any opportunity from this COVID-19 coronavirus? What can change something, the activist work, or is it more like that you're building up fear of something? I heard you, Flo, staying positive, which is really admirable. Is there is there anything, yeah, what you can see positive on that, or is it more like that you're fearing out what Amir said before, like that fascist attack or fascist movement will rise? Definitely.
I would say, I mean, I think nothing has just one side. Also, the effect of COVID-19 has two sides, because one side that leads to more state repression, more racism, more racist controls by police, more xenophobia in many places, and a lot of like taking away of rights, or like of human rights or of rights for freedom in many places. And this is for sure really bad impact. And we all don't know what happens after, like even after, what is the effect in the long term. But then on the other hand, on a small scale, you can also see that there's small like community support organizations being built up, and people try to support each other on a daily basis, which I think is also something that is produced by the COVID-19 situation. And we also don't know if it will continue. No, I hope. But so for me, everything has kind of two sides. Also this.
Amir Kashef, do you want to add something?
No, actually, as mentioned, like the COVID-19 has this two sides, and one of the positive sides in my eyes that people finally feel the uncertainty, and I hope that makes them start feeling the suffering of others and the struggle of others' life.
Okay, then I would close the discussion from this. Yeah, thank you all a lot for this. I hope it hasn't been too chaotic. All really new with this video conference and losing people on the side. Yeah, but I hope this will be like a interesting video after all for Come On. And thank you all so much for participating. Cool.
Thanks for organizing and inviting us.
Organizing this conference, and really enjoyed the talking.
Thank you for organizing this and moderating.